Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're gonna do another video about Netflix. We're doing two Netflix videos in one day because there was a lot of drama on Twitter last night, and both of these instances related to Netflix, shockingly enough. Last night, it was pretty late. I was answered a couple emails. I went out to Twitter and I saw that Yellow Flash had posted that someone, let's see, Salty Nerd, discovered that Back to the Future Part 2 had been censored on Netflix. They actually trimmed down a scene where Marty finds the Ooh La La magazine disguised as the Sports Almanac. And it's not done very well. And there was no explanation as to why it was done at all. We're going to talk about that. Because here's the thing. These streaming media outlets are changing movies to suit current year sensibilities. And this is kind of the problem with everything going digital, is that history can be revised daily. I mean, you can have original versions of movies completely disappear, right? If everything goes to digital. So it does remind you that you probably want to own physical copies of your favorite movies, because there's no guarantee in the future that some of these studios, some of these streaming services won't decide to alter the films for whatever reason to suit modern sensibilities. Now, what's interesting about this is nobody's talking about it. Except for One Angry Gamer. One Angry Gamer did an article on it. I had a couple of people tag me on Twitter and ask if I'd seen it. Thank you for that. Yes, I did see it yesterday. I just haven't gotten around to doing the video on it yet. But all the news about Back to the Future 2 is all about like, hey, everybody celebrate, Back to the Future 2 is coming to Netflix. This is great, everybody. And it's a censored version of a classic PG-13 movie. I think it was PG-13. Why they felt the need to censor it is beyond me. I have no idea. But let's see what One Angry Gamer has to say about it, and then we're going to go out and talk about some other instances of movies that were censored on streaming services for very dubious reasons. So Justin Proper caught the edit by Netflix and uploaded the 24-second clip to Twitter on May 18th, and Yellow Flash retweeted that. Here's the Netflix edit of Back to the Future 2. So what happens here is Marty finds the almanac, or what he thinks is the almanac, and it turns out to be Ooh La La, one of Biff's girly magazines from the 1950s, but they really shorten the scene. He says Ooh La La once, he barely looks at the images. So I can only think that they're doing this because of the scantily clad women in the pages of the book, but they don't really spend a lot of time on those pictures, but they need to convey that this is a girly magazine. And they don't really do that in the edited version. It's very, very sloppy. You can go out and you can compare the two if you go to @TheJustinProper. He's got both versions up here. Salty Nerd, Salty_Nerd has the original version out there. Now, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. It really doesn't, but it is, because one, it does change the context of the film a little bit, because this is the aha moment that you realize that this is not the almanac in the future, has been changed, right? But it's also concerning because it shows that these streaming services will edit these old movies. You know, there's really not much that's offensive in the Back to the Future movies current year, but we can't even show a little bit of PG skin in Back to the Future 2. And again, this is, you know, kind of the issue with Splash, which is a PG film from the 1980s. If you haven't seen, they basically put some CGI hair on Daryl Hannah's posterior to cover up some of her butt cheeks in a PG movie from 1984. We've all seen this movie countless times on Disney Channel, on home video. Nobody was shocked. What was shocking was that they felt the need to change it. Vanity Fair was even calling it out. And they basically said that Disney is being squeamish. They don't want to cross any lines, but it doesn't make sense for Netflix to start censoring, Back to the Future. Netflix does have a lot edgier content. I mean, they have some very edgy content on Netflix, but for some reason that Ooh La La magazine from Back to the Future Part 2 has to be censored. Other idiotic censoring on Disney Plus is Lilo and Stitch. This literally makes no sense. So we've got Lilo hiding in a washing machine from her sister. Clearly, this is a laundry room. We've got a dryer, we've got an ironing board, we got some dirty clothes, detergent, etc. Well, Disney, for reasons unknown, decided to change it into a table with a pizza box. No kid would do this. Nobody would do this. This makes literally no sense. But they did it. Disney did it because they're afraid, I guess, kids are going to be stupid and crawl inside washing machines and they don't want to get sued. I mean, this is ridiculous. And it, again, it's not a one-off. This is a trend that we're seeing more and more of these streaming services as people transition to digital. We see more and more of these streaming services altering, changing, editing films to suit current year sensibilities, current year censorship standards. And this is censorship. This is stupid. There's nothing offensive about this. Kids have been watching this movie on DVD for years. I have yet to hear of a kid that has crawled into a washing machine and gotten themselves injured because of Lilo and Stitch. I don't think anybody is going to be mentally scarred from seeing PG semi-nudity in Back to the Future Part 2. Daryl Hannah's butt is in Splash for a total of like 2 seconds. Again, none of this makes sense, but it is a disturbing trend because they're not telling you that they're editing it. At least when these movies are on TV, they're like, hey, this movie has been modified from its original version. There need to have some kind of disclaimer that when you watch this movie on a streaming service, you're not watching the original cut of it. Again, the best example I can think of, the best analogy I can think of, is if you buy the Star Wars original trilogy, the original pre-special edition trilogy, and you buy it on digital thinking that you own the original trilogy, and then you go to play it one day and it's been replaced with the special edition for no reason. And that can happen. If you buy your movies digitally, all they have to do is change the file. All they have to do is just upload a new version of the movie, and they might tweak some things here and there, take some stuff out, and then you're going to feel like you're being gaslit because you're going to be like, I remember this movie being completely different. I talked before about Transformers the movie. When I was a kid, I went to go see Transformers the movie, and I distinctly remember Spike saying shit because it shocked some of the grandparents in that theater. The one grandma grabbed her kid by the arm and walked him out of the theater in disgust because they said shit in a kid's cartoon. And it came out on VHS, and the swearing wasn't there. They took shit out of the home video, the family home entertainment version of the video, and for years I thought I was crazy. I'm like, I remember going to the theater, and I remember Spike Witwicky swearing because I remember it was enough of a deal, enough of an issue to this grandma that she took her poor kid out of the theater, and she's dragging him to the exit of the movie theater, and this poor kid is like rubbernecking it, looking behind him, trying to watch the movie, and grandma, because they swore once, decided to take him out of the film. Never mind that before this had happened, a bunch of Transformers got blown to bits and mortally wounded, and everybody's dying and all of that. No, they swore, so that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I thought that was crazy for years. And that's what's going to happen to people. They're going to watch these movies one way, then they're going to go back years later and be like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? And it's going to start with little things here and there. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is not that big of a deal. Right? It really isn't that big of a deal, but it starts with something as innocuous as, let's just cut this scene down a little bit. Well, why are they cutting it down? Well, because it shows PG nudity. Well, why is that a problem when you've got all this other stuff on Netflix? And then they have to explain it. Now, it might not be Netflix. It could be Universal. They could be like, well, we want Back to the Future to be more family friendly. Who knows? It could be a TV cut of the film. I'm trying to give them a benefit of a doubt, but we've seen it with Disney Plus, and by God, it's coming to Netflix. And I always thought Netflix was edgier. Is HBO gonna pull this shit too? Are we gonna see some problematic episodes of Friends not make it on the air? We saw it with The Simpsons. Disney Plus cut some episodes of The Simpsons. They cut some stuff out. We saw it with Gravity Falls. They took Grunkle Stan's hat. They took the symbol off of Grunkle Stan's hat because they didn't want to offend people in Turkey. So they actually put it back after Alex Hirsch had a meltdown. Well, it wasn't a meltdown, but he had harsh words for Disney Plus on Twitter. They put Grunkle Stan's hat back. But we're seeing this more and more and more. And, you know, it's going to continue. Next thing you know, they're going to be taking actors out of movies. It sounds crazy, but what if there's an actor that's problematic and they just go and they cut all their scenes out or minimize their scenes, or God forbid use the face replacement technology, the de-aging technology, and just paste another actor's face onto a body because that actor was in a scandal or said something on Twitter that people didn't like. It could happen. I mean, we're dealing with digital files, you know, and they can be altered at any point in time. So I think there's a good case to be made to go back to physical copies of things. And, you know, I have to admit that I was wrong. People kept saying, well, you need to buy physical copies, buy physical copies. I'm like, I don't have room. I don't have room for all of these, you know, DVDs. We've got tons and tons of DVDs. I like digital because it's there. It's on all of our devices. I can download it to an iPad or an iPhone, take it on a plane, whatever. I don't have to store it. But we're seeing more and more that this is very dicey because things can change. Services can end. Voodoo's being sold to Fandango. Ultraviolet shut down. What if Comixology shuts down someday? All those comics you bought, I'm using air quotes here because you didn't really buy them, all those digital comics that you have access to, that you're paying to have access to, you don't get to keep them. You know, they disappear with the service. So it's something really to think about. If you really want to actually own something, you gotta buy physical. If you really want to have the original version of something, you gotta buy physical. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.